Hi everyone. In the previous classes, I discussed about the subject computer organization, what exactly the computer organization is, and the different functional units of computer organization, and how these functional units will perform their task. And I also discussed some of the parameters like clock, clock rate, that is the performance parameters, and also I discussed the performance equation, that is spec equation. I hope you understood the concepts. In today's class, let us understand the machine instructions and programs. So, this concept is very important. First, let us look into the objectives of the machine instructions and the program or the program execution. So, here I have listed some of the objectives. The first one is machine instructions and program execution, including branching and subroutine call, and also the return operations. The second objective is addressing methods for accessing the register and memory operands. The third objective is assembly language for representing the machine instructions, data, and programs. The last objective is program controlled input output operations. So, I'll discuss these objectives in detail in the later concepts. So first let us look into the memory locations, addresses and the operations. As we already know what is the memory, and in today's class let us see how the memory looks like and what is the representation of the memory location. Here the number and the character operands as well as the instructions are stored in the memory of a computer. So as you know, basically memory is the storage. So the memory can store the number and character operands as well as the instructions. Here we will now consider how the memory is organized. The memory consists of millions of storage shells, where each of the storage shell can store a bit of information having the value 0 or 1. Means memory will store the information in terms of the storage shells, where each cell is capable of storing the information in terms of zeros and ones. Means it will store the data in the binary form. Here a single bit represent a very small amount of information. The bits are handled individually, as each bit will be handled individually. The usual approach is to deal with these bits in a group of the fixed size. Here you can say that these bits are stored in terms of groups, where the group size is fixed here. For this purpose, the memory is organized so that a group of n bits can be stored or retrieved in a single basic operation. So the retrieval of the information or storing the information is in terms of the group of bits in a single basic operation. Each group of n bits is referred as a word of information. As I told, the memory will store the information in terms of the group of bits. This group of bit is known as word. You can say that the information is stored in terms of words or the word of information. And n is the word length. As you can see here, n bits, n is nothing but word length. So these horizontal rows are nothing but the words. So first horizontal row is first word, second row is second word, third row is third word. So each row indicates the word of information, where n indicates the word length. Here the memory of a computer can be schematically represented as a collection of words. As you can see in this figure, in this memory representation, here The storage or the memory is represented as the collection of words. So here you can see there are n number of words, so collectively it is known as memory or the memory representation. The modern computers have the word length that are typically range from 16 to 64 bits. If the word length of a computer is 32-bit, then a single word can store 32-bit information, which is in 2's complement number or 4 ASCII characters. Here, each is occupying 8 bits, as you can see in the figure. That is in the next figure you can see. Suppose consider your computer is of 32 bits, then it can store the information in terms of 32-bit, where this will store the information in a 2's complement number format or 4 ASCII characters. A unit of 8 bits is called as a byte. As you can see, the 8 bits, 8 bits, 8 bits, 8 bits. So total it is 32-bit word length. If your computer is of 32-bit, then you can say that the word length is 32 bits. 32-bit means to store the information in terms of bits. A collection of 8 bits is known as byte here. So a single word is of 4 bytes in case of 32-bit computer. Or if the 32-bit word length is there, then you can say that each word consists of total 8 bytes, where each byte is of 8 bits. So the machine instructions may require one or more words for their representation. So we'll discuss how these machine instructions are encoded into the memory words in the later section. Here, accessing the memory to store or to retrieve a single item of information, either a word or a byte, it requires the distinct names or the addresses for each item location. It means that in order to store the information into the memory or in terms of the memory words, each word it require a distinct name or the address. So this address must be distinct here. So address is exactly like your postal address or the any the communication address which is required to store or to retrieve the information. So it is customary to use the number from 0 to 2 raised to k minus 1. Yes, here suppose consider a k bit address memory has 2k memory locations, and these memory locations will range from 0 to 2 raised to k minus 1. So this entire locations or the collection of these memory locations is named as memory space. For example, consider a 32-bit address. It will generate an address space of 2 raised to 24 locations. So it is very simple. If the memory address is of k bit, then you can expect 2 raised to k memory locations. Suppose if the memory address is of 24 bit, then we can have 2 raised to 24 memory locations. So this number is usually written as 16 capital M, as you can see here, 16 capital M, which is nothing but 2 raised to 24. Here M represents mega. So 2 raised to 24 is nothing but 16 mega memory locations. So those many memory locations. Similarly, if the memory address or the address space is of 32 bit, then you can expect 2 raised to 32 different memory locations. So 2 raised to 32 means 4G. G stands for giga locations. So 2 raised to 32 means 4 giga locations. So the other notational conventions are commonly used, that are K. K stands for kilo. Kilo means 2 raised to 10. Then one more notation is capital T, that is a tera. Tera means 2 raised to 40. So these are the most commonly used notations. That is M stands for mega, G stands for giga, K means kilo, and T means tera. So the number of memory locations, it depends upon uh, the memory address. The or How the memory address is of how many bits. So if memory address is of k bit, then the number of memory locations is 2 raised to k, and collectively it is known as memory space. The next important concept is byte addressability. We now have the three basic information quantities to deal with. One is bit, the other one is byte, and the one more is word. So these are the basic information quantities to deal with memory, that is a bit, byte, and word. So as you know, word is the collection of bytes. So in case of 32-bit computer, or in case of 32-bit memory address, the word is of 4 bytes, where each byte is of 8 bits. So a byte is always 8 bits, but the word length will typically vary from 16 to 64 bits. So it is depending on the memory address. So if the memory address is of 16 bits, then word length is 16. If the memory word 64 bits, then the word length is 64 bits. So it is impractical to assign the distinct addresses to the individual bit locations in the memory, but the most practical assignment is to have successive addresses, which is referred to as successive byte locations in the memory. So as I already discussed about the memory addresses, so always these memory addresses are the successive addresses, or you can say that successive memory locations. Successive in the sense one after other. So always the memory addresses are successive addresses, and these memory addresses must be distinct. So this is what the assignment used in most of the modern computers, and it is the one that we will normally use in our discussion. So the term byte addressable memory is used for this memory assignment. Here the byte locations have the addresses 0, 1, 2, and so on. Suppose if the word length of the machine is 32 bits, then the successive words are located at 0, 4, 8, 12, and so on, with each word consisting of 4 bytes. That is in case of the machines with the 32 bits or 32-bit machines. Then the next important concepts are the big endian and the little endian assignments. So these are the two types of the memory assignments. One is big endian, and the other one is a little endian assignment. So these are what the 2 byte addresses can be assigned across the words, which is clearly shown in this particular figure. As you can show in this figure, there are two memory assignments, or there are two ways of memory representation or the memory assignments. One is big endian and other one is little endian assignment. Here the name big endian is used when the lower byte addresses are used for the most significant byte or the most significant word. For example, consider, so these are what the memory words, horizontal rows, and this is what the least significant position, and this is what the most significant position. So these are what the byte addresses, that is 0, 1, 2, 3. So in case of big endian assignment, if the lower byte address is used for the most significant byte or the most significant position of the word, then it is known as big endian assignment. For examples here, as I told, this is what the least significant byte, and this is what the most significant byte. So here 0 is the least byte address or the lower byte address. So if the lower byte address is used for most significant word or the most significant byte, so this is known as big endian assignment. But the name little endian is exactly in the opposite order. It means that, as you can see in this little endian assignment, here the lower byte address is used for the least significant byte or the least significant word position. So this type of memory assignment is known as a little endian assignment. I think you got the difference between big endian and little endian assignment. So I'll repeat. In case of big endian, the lower byte address is used for the most significant byte or the most significant word position, whereas in case of little endian assignment, the lower byte address, that is 0. So this lower byte address is used for the least significant byte or the least significant the word position. So this is what the main difference between big endian and little endian assignment. So these are the two types of memory assignments. Here the words more significant and the least significant are used in relation to the weights. Weights in the sense the power of 2. So usually, as we know, if you consider the power of 2, so always this weight, it will start from the rightmost position. So rightmost position is of lower byte address or the lower position, whereas the leftmost position is the most significant position. So usually, if you consider the weight in terms of the power of 2, so as we can see, the power of 2, it will order in this way, that is 2 raised to 0, then 2 raised to 1, 2 raised to 2, 2 raised to 3, so like this. So weights are normally measured in terms of the power of 2 in case of the memory assignment. Here the words represent a number. Both the little endian and big endian assignments are most commonly used in the commercial machines. In both the cases, the byte addresses are 0, 4, 8, and so on. They are taken as the addresses of the successive words in the memory. So here you can see the words are successive words here, like 0, then 4, then 8. Here also same 0, 4, 8, 12. So always these byte addresses or the word locations are successive words in the memory, and these are the addresses which are used when specifying the memory read and the memory write operations for the words. So these memory addresses, so these addresses are very much required to retrieve these words from the memory location. If you want to retrieve this entire word, so this memory word or this memory address is required. Similarly, to retrieve this entire word, this memory address or this word address is required. So these word addresses are very much required, or these memory addresses are very much required for the read and write operations with respect to the memory. In addition to specifying the address ordering of bytes within a word, it is also necessary to specify the labeling of bits within the byte or a word. The most common convention and the one we'll use is clearly shown in the previous one. So this is what the most common representation or the word representation used in our discussion. So the next important concept is the word alignment. In case of the 32-bit word length, The natural word boundaries they occur at the addresses 0, 4, 8 and so on, which is already seen in the previous figures. That is the word addresses will start the range from 0, 4, 8 and so on. We can say that the word locations have the aligned addresses. In general, the words are said to be aligned in the memory if they begin at the byte addresses, that is the multiple of the number of bytes in a word. For the practical reasons the associated with the manipulating the binary coded addresses. Practically, if you want to look into the memory addresses, so these memory addresses are in terms of binary bits, so they are known as binary coded addresses. So a number of bytes in a word is the power of 2. If the word length is 16, 16 means 2 bytes, right? So if the word length is 16, then the aligned word will begin at the byte addresses 0 to 4. So this is in terms of bytes, say in terms of 2 bytes, right? So if the word length is 16, then the byte address it will begin in such a order, that is 0 to 4 and so on. And for the word length of 64, that is 2 raised to 3 bytes, right? Then the aligned word it will begin at the byte addresses 0, 8, 16 and so on. So if the word length is 16, then the word is of 2 bytes. If the word length is 64, then each word is of 2 raised to 3 bytes, that is 8 bytes. And there is no fundamental reason why the words cannot begin at the arbitrary byte address, right? So this is what is about the word length. The next important concept is accessing the numbers, characters and the character strings. Here a number usually it occupies a word. So as you have already seen, the information will be stored in terms of words. So if you consider a number, I consider that that number it occupies one word. It can be accessed in the memory by specifying its word address. Suppose consider a number is stored in the memory in terms of words. If you want to access that number, then it should be through specifying the word address or the word location address, right? Similarly, the individual characters can be accessed by their byte addresses. In many of the applications, it is very much necessary to handle the character strings of the variable length. The beginning of the string is indicated by giving the address of the byte containing its first character. The successive byte locations contain the successive characters of the string. So always the first byte is containing the first character and the successive byte addresses are containing the successive characters of the string. There are two ways to indicate the length of the string. A special control character with the meaning end of the string can be used as the last character in the string. As you know, if you look into the string representation, always the string will end with a special character, that is backslash 0. Like this, similarly in the memory representation, a special control character is used to represent the last character in the string. So that special character is known as end of the string. So whenever it encounters the end of the string, it means that that is what the end of the string, or all the characters of the string are retrieved. Or a separate memory word location or the processor register can also contain a number indicating length of the string in bytes. So this is about the accessing numbers, characters and the character strings with respect to the memory. And the next important memory operations are load and store operations. So these operations are very much required to read or to write some data into the memory. Here Both the program instructions and data operands are stored in the memory. Consider the data operands and the program instructions are stored in the memory. So to execute an instruction, the processor control circuit must cause the words or the word containing the instructions to be transferred from memory to processor, right? Suppose if you want to execute some instruction on some data, then the instruction which is stored in the memory, so that instruction must be transferred from memory to processor. Similarly, the operands and results must also be moved between the memory and the processor. So when the instruction and the data operands are brought into the processor, then the processor will perform or the processor will execute that instruction by using the operands as input. Hence, the two basic operations involving the memory are, one is load operation and the other one is store operation. So to execute an instruction by the processor, these memory operations are very much required. One is load memory operation and the other one is store memory operation. Load is nothing but read or fetch, whereas store is nothing but write operation. Here, the load operation will transfer a copy of contents of the specific memory location to the processor. You can say that the load operation is nothing but the transfer of contents from memory location to the processor. That is load operation. The memory contents remain unchanged. Only the transfer is going to happen, but the contents of the memory will remain same. So to start with the load operation, the processor has to send the address of a desired location to the memory. Then it has to request the contents to be read from the memory. The memory reads the data stored at that particular address and it will send that data to the processor. So this is load operation. I hope a load operation is clear. Consider the instructions and data operands are stored in the memory location. In order to fetch this data, then the load operation has to perform. Load operation is nothing but fetching the instructions and the data operands from memory to the processor. For that, the processor has to send the memory address or it has to request for the memory address. Then the memory will fetch that data from its location and it will transfer that data to the processor. After that, the processor will execute that particular instruction by using the data operands. Then the store operation. Here, the store operation will transfer an item of information from processor back to the specific memory location by destroying the former contents of the memory location. Consider the processor has executed some instruction and it has generated some results. So in order to transfer these results back to the memory location, then the store operation came into picture. So performing store operation is nothing but sending the results from the processor back to the memory location, but we cannot expect whatever the original contents of the memory was there, so they may not return in their original form, or the original memory locations may be replaced with the new operands or the result. An information item which is of either one word or one byte can be transferred between the processor and the memory in a single operation. Here the processor contains a small number of registers where each is capable of holding a word. The registers are either the source or the destination register to transfer to the memory or to transfer from the memory location. When a byte is transferred, it is usually located in the lower order byte position or the rightmost byte position of the register. So normally the processor is containing the set of registers. So these registers are going to hold the data from the memory location. So this register will act as both source and the destination register. So if the register is going to store some data from memory location into it, then it is can say that that is the source register. If the register is sending some data back to the memory location, so such registers are known as the destination registers. So the details of the hardware implementation of these operations will be discussed in the later chapters. So this is about the memory operations, that is memory load and memory store operations. So these operations are very much required to execute an instruction by the processor. Then the next important concept is the instructions and the instruction sequencing. The tasks that are carried out by a computer program, it consists of the sequence of small steps such as adding two numbers, testing for a particular condition, reading a character from keyboard, or sending a character to be displayed on the display screen or the monitor. So a computer must have the instructions capable of performing these four types of operations. So each and every computer must have the instructions capable of performing the four bytes, the four types of these operations. So whichever the instruction which will be executed or performed by the computer, so each instruction should perform these four operations. First one is data transfer between the memory and the processor registers. Second one is arithmetic and the logic operations on data. The third one is program sequencing and control. And last one is IO transfers. So each and every instruction has to perform these operations. It must perform these operations to execute in a computer. So the operations are data transfer between memory and the processor registers, then arithmetic and logical operations on that data, then program sequencing and control, and finally input output transfers. So we'll begin our discussion by discussing the first two types of instructions. So these operations or these instructions I will discuss in detail in the later classes. So thank you.